Are you trying to get your nerdy kid outside and enjoy the weather? Cool, me too. We had this old glass coffee table from a previous set of outdoor furniture, and I figured I would change it into an outdoor chess table for my son. For this project, I used some all-purpose cleaner, paper towels, vinyl application tape, a Sharpie, a ruler, glass etching or frosted spray paint, an X-Acto knife, gloves and safety glasses, as well as disposable bags. I started out by thoroughly cleaning the table. I went over it 2 times because it gets pretty messy since it's outside. After that, I started on the application tape. You can use contact paper for this as well, or even vinyl, but vinyl's going to stick pretty hard. Honestly, you could even use masking tape. You would just have to go over a lot of passes to cover the whole table. To cut the chessboard, I measured out the center of the table. You're going to want to make sure that you're working from the center out so that it doesn't end up off center. You're going to want to use 8 rows and 8 columns. As you draw the second set of lines, you're going to want to make sure that it's perfectly perpendicular so that you end up with squares in the end. I just used the width of the ruler for each of these squares, which I believe is about 1.5 inches. Then I just followed up those lines with my X-Acto knife. Since it's glass, I could cut directly into the application tape. Once I had those all cut out, all I had to do was use my X-Acto knife to remove the alternating squares. Then I drew a 1/2 inch border all the way around the entire board and cut that out too. At this point, I was ready to etch into the glass. You have 2 options here. I chose to use glass etching cream. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. By far the easier option is to use frosted spray paint. However, since this was going outside, I didn't want the frosting to get scratched and be removed, so I went ahead and decided to etch it. There are a couple of things that you're going to want to be aware of when using glass etching cream. First of all, it is ideal that this project was being done outside because the etching has a very strong odor similar to rotten eggs. It's also a chemical, so you probably want good ventilation. It's generally not a good idea to use it in a small space. You also want to make sure that you're wearing protective equipment. You don't want this stuff touching your skin or getting in your eyes or anything like that. I used Armor Etch, and the instructions said to leave it for about 30 minutes, I believe. I came back after a half hour and tested a spot and noticed that the etching wasn't quite as strong as I'd like it to be, and it was leaving brush marks. So I reapplied the etching to the spot that I tested and waited longer, probably about twice as long as the instructions suggested. After that, I came back and used the same cleaner and cleaned off all of the etching cream. I had grocery bags on hand and put my trash directly into them so that I wouldn't have to be touching it with bare hands later. I made sure to carefully remove my gloves as well, to the point where I wasn't getting any of the chemicals on my skin. I found some plastic chess pieces on Amazon, which I will also link below. They could stay outside since they were plastic. However, they do have felt bottoms, so we tend to keep them in a Tupperware container underneath the table so that all of that stuff can stay outside without getting damaged. The finished product ended up being a great way to utilize a piece of furniture that I had left over, and also allowed my kids to claim part of the garden as their own. It's been a nice, peaceful way to share time with each other and enjoy some fresh air. Remember that pieces like this can continue to serve a purpose as your needs change in life. It just takes a little creativity and a little elbow grease. Best of luck on your next project.